it is 7 o'clock, and hi, my name's Catherine Yaffe. I'm the author of crime thrillers, first two being The Lie She Told, which is 1 year old this week, and the second one being The Web They Wove, which came out in May of this year. Both are, like I say, crime thrillers. The first one is set in the Highlands of Scotland. The second one is set in Leeds, which is where I was born, and it's where my co-author, Chris, sets his books as well. So, Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Chris Nickson. I was born and raised in Leeds, lived away for a long time, and moved back here about 8 years ago. I write historical crime, and most of my books are set in Leeds, not all. I've got a couple set in Seattle, where I lived for 20 years, worked as a music journalist, and four that are set in Chesterfield, because I lived down there for a while too. But those are medieval. Normally, my Leeds books are set between 1730 and 1957, so I dip around between different periods. I have different series. Um, it's a chance for me to explore Leeds as it changes, because like anywhere else, it changes its face over the years, and to try and understand Leeds people, which I'm still working on that.
We're a special breed.
We are bolshy,
Proud, I would say, rather than bolshy.
proud and bolshy.
Okay. All right. So I think it was very weird association that we're actually now chatting, Chris, because I think I'd I'd never heard of you, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. For some reason, you popped up in my Twitter timeline, and I reached out to you, and you very, very kindly read a copy of my book, and I downloaded I think it's your first book, Hanging Psalm.
Well, it's the first in that
In the
particular series.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
and I was absolutely intrigued because it covers two of my favourite reading genres, which is historical fiction and crime, and the two of them
hmm,
combined. So it kind of ticked both boxes from me, and I didn't realise at the time that the book was set in Leeds, and it wasn't until I started. I saw Brigade, and and I'm thinking, oh, this is actually set in Leeds. Then
mhm.
it was really interesting because the lead character Simon is I want to say detective, but is he a detective?
I is a thief taker,
Yeah.
which is what he does is when things have been stolen, he returns them for a fee. But so you could say in a way he's a very thief takers were a real thing.
Mm.
And a number of them were very shady. You could almost think of him as a sort of proto private detective in a way, because he has no
Yeah,
legal standing, no authority.
that was that was where I was going to kind of go with it, in that it was a very early private detective PI.
Mhm.
Um, so I was obviously really pleased to find your books, and I'm going to go and download the rest of them because I'm intrigued. But I just wanted to kind of pick your brains a bit, really.
All right.
There's a lot of
There's not
why.
much to pick, I'll tell you that.
I've got a lot of why questions. So obviously, I know you're from Leeds originally, so I'm guessing that's why you chose to set the books in Leeds. Why the historical factor? Why did you set them in the time period that you did? And how easy or hard was it to research that time? 'Cause, I mean, I know Leeds has got such a rich history anyway. Um, but the way that you describe the streets and the settings and the place names, and some of the inns as they were, did you how much research did you have to do, I guess?
Well, I started reading Leeds history in the middle 90s. I was living abroad, then I'd come back and visit my parents and pick up whatever new books were available at Borders at that time.
Borders, yeah.
And then when eBay came about, I was getting books from them because you could pick stuff up dead cheap. It cost a fortune in postage. But when I moved back, there was a special cheap way to send books back. So I had all these old books on Leeds, and got them all back here because it had become a passion of mine. And I got more into researching my family history. My family moved here from East Yorkshire in the 1820s. And they actually moved from a little village called Westow. I appropriated the name for Simon Westow, my thief.
Yeah.
And the first ancestor who moved here was a butcher who had a shop on Timble Bridge, which Timble Bridge doesn't exist anymore. Right. But it sort of connected Kirgate to Marsh Lane.
Yeah.
And it went over Sheepscot Beck. So and that's all paved over now.
I work out in my head now.
Yeah, Sheepscot Beck ran all the way down to the River Aire.
Okay.
And you can still see it a little bit from Madgate. It's very contained now, but it was broader then. So
sat nodding. You obviously know where that is. Is that near the Midnight Bell then? Is it down there?
No, the way Regent Street out towards.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
It sort of runs through Quarry Hill.
Right. Oh, so it is the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so Leeds history is fascination me. Researching it is second nature.
So is the researching, is that something are you qualified in it, or is it just a hobby?
It's a passion, I think, really.
Yeah.
And so I have shelves of books on Leeds history here. Plus, there's the Leeds Library on Commercial Street. They house the library of the Thoresby Society, which is the sort of Leeds local history society, and they have a great library. Plus, Leeds Library is the family and history library. I know those people really well, and I actually write papers on Leeds history. I've written a short history of Sheepscot,
right?
Because my Victorian and Edwardian series, a lot of that takes place down in Sheepscot. The wife of the main character is the landlady of the Victoria Public House at the bottom of Roundhay Road, which was a real place. From the 20s to the 40s, my own great-grandfather was the landlord there.
Right.
So I'm tying in my family history as well, in different ways.
So the character Simon, then, I'm going to be honest with you. Again, this is a Leeds thing or a Yorkshire thing. It took me a while to warm to him.
Yeah.
I felt like there were depths to him that I wasn't being shown.
They come out gradually.
And I know that now. But as a writer, any course I've ever been on, or advice I've been given is, you must make the reader feel passionate about the lead protagonist from the start, and they have to be fighting their corner. And do you know who I actually connected most with was Jane. Yeah.
Jane, to me, really is the heart of that series, and
I could, I mean, I was rooting for her. I don't want to say too much and give it away, but anybody that's watching, please go look up Chris's books if you.
And Jane really Well, the fourth book is coming out in December, and Jane really develops in that. The fifth one is about, my agent's got it right now, and it'll be going off to the publisher very soon. And again, Jane changes in that, and there's big changes towards the end of the book, so that the characters do develop. And Rosie, Simon's wife, changes and comes out more. So
I just for Jane, I just felt she's got the juxtaposition of being so fragile and yet as tough as old boots. I wouldn't mess with her.
I love her, but she terrifies me.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would. Yeah, 100%. You wouldn't get on the wrong side of her,
because if she has a reason, she will kill.
Oh yeah.
No two ways about it. And again, that comes out more as the series progresses and as she opens up.
Yeah.
Right. I'll just see one of the questions here.
Yeah, I'm just having a look now.
I do know Karen Maitland.
Yeah.
Are my books on audio? 2 of my books are on audio. My very first book, The Broken Token, which is set in 1730s, and it's a series with Richard Nottingham, the Constable of Leeds, who was the real Constable of Leeds at that time. And also a private detective novel set in 1954 in Leeds called Dark Brigade Blues. Both of those are on audio, and the 2 books of mine set in Seattle are both on audio.
Did you get the audio through your publisher, Chris? Was that?
Yeah, I did. I do not have the option for most of my books of arranging audio myself.
Yeah. It's just with mine now. I self-publish on both of mine, so I'm just looking to see how I can get see if I can get anybody interested in doing the audio.
Yeah, it's a burgeoning field. So I'd like to ask you. I've read your book set in Leeds. What made you choose Leeds?
Because I was born there, and I lived in the. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's North Leeds. It's kind of over Garforth way.
Oh yeah, East Leeds.
But when I was much of my teenage years was spent in Round Hill, which I believe is where you live, but then around the Cross Green and that kind of area. And Hyde Park was always somewhere that you never went after dark.
Really?
And it always had the quite a sinister.
Well, of course, that was Ripper territory.
Yeah, but exactly, and being the age I am, obviously 21, Ripper was something that was well known within the area. So yeah, that I've lived in Wakefield for 20 years, but I still consider myself a Leeds girl.
Well, it's funny because my first wife and I had a flat in Hyde Park and then in Headingley, and she worked at Headingley Library. We moved to the States, which is where she was from. But the way she used to walk home at night when she worked late, that street was where the Ripper snatched one of his victims. So it really sort of brought that home to us.
Yeah. But I mean, then there's the other side of that is it's so vibrant and it's such a diverse community. Every year you go up in the summer and there's families playing, having picnics, kids playing football. It just it changes. But then after dark, there's.
I never found that, but that was a long, long time ago. So yeah. And someone asked, do I have a favorite setting from my books? Weirdly, probably Sheepscare. And I don't know why, because I never lived there. And it's all torn down now.
Yeah.
It's been torn down for decades, but Sheepscare and the Leylands, which was gone before I was cognizant, really, I probably just catch something in me, and I can't quite tell you why. And Cross Green as well, because that's where my father's family lived.
Yeah, it crossed green for me because again, I've seen so many different sides of it. My first husband, he was from there, and his parents lived up there. So we used to go to some of the pubs around Cross Green, and then one of my first jobs in telesales, the area that I covered on the phone was Cross Green. And then obviously it's all changed, and there's a lot of redevelopment gone on.
Yeah. It's
so I think one of the settings, favorite setting for one of my books is actually the first book, The Lie She Told, and it's in Gairloch, which is in the northwest of Scotland, and it's mine and my husband's spiritual home. If we could move there in a heartbeat, we absolutely would.
I don't know it at all. I have to admit.
But, Chris, you can't get a phone signal. There's no internet. I love it. Or just to buy a little writing retreat up there.
Actually, there's a friend of mine lives up on Black Isle. I'm not sure exactly where that is in Scotland, but he's a crime writer, and they also do writing retreats up there. They have a sort of B&B, so I don't know. Someone says here, would I ever write a more modern book set in Leeds? Well, I'm messing about. I'm working on a couple of projects at the moment, but one of them is set in 1967 in Leeds, which is the furthest forward I've ever come, and the furthest forward I'm ever likely to come. Why? I think because I left here in the 70s, and even though I've been back here a while, the language and everything I can capture that language. I'm not so sure I can capture as it is now. I've tried I've written 2 complete novels that I've ended up putting aside because they just contemporary setting and they just didn't make it. And also that question is, would you go historical?
Absolutely, yeah, I would. I really admire. I like C.J. Sampson and the Charlotte series. Absolutely devoured them. In fact, I think I've read each of them maybe 2 or 3 times. If I could find a truly unique angle that was something to do around the Tudors and Henry VIII, I'm a bit obsessed with that period of time, then I would in a heartbeat. Yeah, but it's finding something unique and
yeah.
It's what hasn't already been done.
It's difficult. There's no doubt about that. And in some ways, that's why I choose Leeds as a setting, because people don't write books set in Leeds, it's different. And my first series, Richard Norton, was set in Leeds in the 1730s, when it was still a very small town, about 7,000 people, but it was just starting to get rich off war, and that really, I think, set it apart. But I've from the sales, I've noticed that the Simon Westhout books sell better than my others. And I was talking to my agent about it, and she thinks it's because it's not a standard sort of detective novel.
That's right.
He's not a policeman. There's an awful lot of social justice in there. You don't find it as much in the first one. but that develops more, seems to come out more as the series develops, because Simon himself is a product of the workhouse and abused in the factories and the mills. He still carries the scars, and so he has. They're very angry books, very angry books, and I think the anger propels them. And
Caroline's
that maybe
just
makes a difference.
Sorry, Caroline's just asking, what's the best thing you've both read recently? I'm just looking down there. I don't know if mine's down here.
I've been reading M.W. Craven's Poe and Tilly books, which are really good.
Love them. Absolutely love them.
Yeah. And I mean, I do. To a small degree, I can actually see an analogy between Tilly and Jane in the Simon Western books.
Really?
Although Tilly is very cerebral and Jane is physical, but also endowed with a sort of sixth sense as well, knowing when someone is following her and able to. But they're both very different female characters.
Yeah, definitely.
I do like to write strong women. I have deliberately avoided any exploitative violence against women in my books. It's not gratuitous. If it's there, it's a necessary part of the story, and I don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
And most of the violence is actually against men, because that's kind of how it really works. But I do go for strong women. I think it's a very northern thing, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back, Coronation Street back in the early days was full of strong women. It's part of living up here, I think. So, and
just put my bar ordering. Sorry.
What is the best feedback you've had for your novels?
Mine was, I got it last night.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to read it. Just hang on a sec. Chat amongst yourselves for a minute. Here we go. Right, this came through last night. Now, I've been going through a bit of a difficult time recently. If you know, you know. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to write another book. It's going to be book 3. I'm a big believer in the universe and everything happens for a reason. I was sat having a bit of a quandary last night, and this email came through, and it said, I just have to let you know that I'm shattered and my house is in a real old state. But why, you must be wondering? Well, because of the above book, The Web They Wove. We had roast dinner 2 nights in a row, as I could just bung it in the oven and get back to the book. You really are a very, very talented writer. I wish I could have discovered you sooner. It would have made lockdown much easier. Really hope you turn Ziggy and his team into a series of books, and I can't wait to read whatever else you write. But maybe I should do some batch cooking first.
That's just a really great thing to hear, isn't it?
And that just came through on email, and it was completely unexpected. And I just sat grinning like an absolute loon. So that's the best. And her name's just Jill. I've no idea who it is.
It's so lovely when someone takes the trouble to email you.
It was just wonderful, and especially I was in that So yeah, what about yourself? Feedback?
Oh God, for me, it's a couple of things. Back in 2011, book of mine was named as one of the 10 best mysteries of the year by Library Journal in the US. And I think for the rest of the day, I was just walking around in absolute disbelief after I saw this, and waiting for my partner to get home from work, and I could tell somebody, And, And then a review actually for the second Simon Western book from Publishers Weekly, which is one of the big trades in the States, and said historical crime doesn't get any better than this.
No, absolutely.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. So but yeah, I mean, These are great. I mean, I love getting reviews like that. And, it's good because it means the libraries will buy them and bookstores will come over there. But it's when you actually hear from the people who shelled out the money and read them.
Oh yeah.
That got them from a library or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's really wonderful.
Yeah, I must admit I've been very fortunate. I've had some great. I've only had maybe one or two bad ones, but just take them.
Yeah,
with a smooth, don't you? Andrew's just asking, Catherine, is your book going to be adapted for television? I think talking about the lie she told, and no, not yet. But if you do know anybody at Netflix, or just let me know. But you're not the first person to ask that. Quite a few people have said it would make perfect TV series. So I don't know. We'll see. If somebody knows Jed Mercurio's number,
yeah.
just
Well,
my way.
and
it didn't work.
And Plays Vera became a TV series because just by sheer luck, someone I think it was came across one of the books in a charity shop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so you never know.
You never know.
I mean, the one thing about historicals, I have a friend who's a TV scriptwriter, and she wanted to adapt one of my books. She couldn't interest anybody because historicals are so expensive to film.
Yeah.
I
would imagine so, actually, because you've got the setting to think of, haven't you?
And,
yeah.
So yeah, it would be. I agree with you. It would be lovely, but it would actually just be icing on the cake.
How much luck do you think is involved with being a successful author at Chris?
An awful lot. You have to catch people's imagination at the right time, I think. It also helps if you have one of the bigger publishers behind you.
You have? Can you both sign out and come back in again? Very sorry, guys. I've seemed to have lost both Chris and Catherine. Chris is back. There we go. We're just waiting for Catherine to come back. Just keep telling us your answer, Chris, while we wait.
Yeah. Someone said the Cadfile books with Ellis Peters. Yeah, those were wonderful. It was also a very different time when they were filmed. So it's these days, you've got everything's more expensive, but you also have so many more people making TV shows based on books. Weirdly, I have a reservation about it because I'm asked, well, who would you want to play Richard Nottingham, Simon Wester, or Tom Harper? I don't know, actually, because I watch very little television. But if somebody was cast in that role, I would be seeing them when I wrote in the future.
Oh, right. I see what you mean, yeah.
I mean, my characters are completely alive to me, but in a lot of ways, they're a bit faceless as well. And I prefer it that way.
Yeah.
I can write to my imagination, not to what somebody actually... It's less concrete.
Yeah. Somebody's just making a comment. Chris, I've seen Cadfile on TV with Derek Jacobi.
Yeah.
Which was Ellis Peters.
Yeah, just before you came back, I was actually I addressed that. So
Oh, right, okay.
yeah.
I'm just going to go back to something that Caroline asked earlier. What was the best books that you've read recently? I have had quite a lot of downtime recently, and I wanted to get into a series of books. So I started reading Robert Galbraith, which I'd always avoided for some reason, the Strike series.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished Trouble Blood on, I think it must have been last weekend, and I felt bereft. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed a series of books.
Oh, that's great.
I thoroughly enjoyed them, and her writing, yeah, blew me away. I'll never be that good.
Well, my favourite book of last year was Maggie O'Farrell's Hamnet, which had about the wife and son of Shakespeare.
Oh yeah. I've got that.
And I just thought that was an incredible book. So
yeah. Just complete change of subject now. Sam, can always rely on Sam. Cat in the Web They Wove, you used a nightclub as a setting. What are both of your experiences of Leeds nightlife? Well, there's the ones I can remember, Sam, and the ones that I can't. And I think the last time I had a night out in Leeds, it was for St Gemma's Christmas Ball. And I remember running down Briggate with my shoes, what are they called, sandals, swinging from one hand, and Greg's Cornish pasty in the other, with my gorgeous ball gown on. And I had my son with me, and he was only 16 or 17 at the time. But we'd had a fantastic night, but my feet were killing me.
well,
Your experience of Leeds nightlife, Chris? Come on, share all.
well, most of my experience of it goes back decades, really. And even then, I mean, back in the 70s, I didn't go to the. I'd go out and see bands.
Yeah,
to the
that's
pub.
funny actually, because Caroline's just mentioned the Cockpit. I've been.
Yeah, I saw that,
Mm.
and that was long after my time. There
You
weren't
stick to the floor.
there weren't any clubs back then. You went to see bands at the uni or the Poly or the Town Hall.
Yeah.
That's about it. Late 60s was a club on Great George Street, and there was one briefly, long before it became Le Phonograph at
Oh yeah.
Marion Centre,
Yeah.
back in 1970, 71, 70 must have been. I saw Hawkwind there, and it was 8 and 6pence to get in, and I remember it said on the ticket, includes free beef burger.
Well,
That was a big attraction, you know.
In the Marion Centre, there were two nightclubs. Well, there was one nightclub. First of all, it was called Tiffany's when we started.
Yeah.
Then it changed its name to Confetti's. And if you got there before 11 o'clock and you were underage, they'd let you in.
Oh, okay. That's a good plus. Yeah, definitely.
So where have we got to? So yeah, and Cockpit in Leeds, Caroline. I think I've been there. I think I've seen Paul Weller there. Disgusting place. Not surprised they closed it down. Just don't touch the walls. Never mind the floor. The walls.
I've been to see a couple of things at the warehouse, but most of the stuff I've been to see since we moved back here has been at the Howard Assembly Room. So
yeah,
a bit too posh, not a club at all.
The fun about that, I think that used to be quite a goth place. Certainly when I was going into town, it was back in the day. Andrew, oh yeah, so you just asked about my comment about Jed Mercurio. Yeah, he wrote Line of Duty along with practically every hit.
The Bodyguard as well, didn't he?
On TV.
Yeah.
Google him. Caroline, I've spent many a night at the Phono Bar as well. Yeah, it was a bit grim.
Like I said, that was after my time. So get me on clubs in the States, and particularly in Seattle, and I can give you chapter and verse. 'Cause I was a music journalist, so I used to be out seeing
All
bands.
right. Okay. Yeah.
I was out 3 or 4 nights a week seeing bands, and loved it. But I'm kind of glad those days are over now. So I'm getting way too old
Reaching
for it.
age, Joe.
Yeah,
Do you write full time, Chris? Then is it your?
yeah,
Is it
yeah.
your now?
I do. I mean, I started writing full time in 1994, and I was doing music journalism, but also writing those quickie, unauthorized biographies, which should really help pay the mortgage. In fact, my first published book was on Mariah Carey.
Oh, really?
She couldn't stand the music, but I wrote about a lot of people whose music I didn't like, but they made me money. So Mariah made me, all in all, probably $70,000,
Wait, really? Wow.
But in the mid-90s, that was very good money. So
Yeah.
and plus,
Right up on Prince, I think.
it was great experience though for a writer. I mean, you're talking really before the internet was used as a research tool. So it was down the library on the microfilm,
Oh my God.
back issues of magazines, photocopying. You had a month to research and write a 50,000-word book.
Wow.
So self-discipline became important. And it's the same with being a journalist. You know, you're on deadlines the whole time. And doing that for years and having a good editor, really good editor for some of my journalism, improved what I did so much.
Were you freelance or?
Yeah. But it was in the days when you could actually make a living doing that kind of thing and just writing about music.
Yeah. Caroline is asking, what kind of what kind of bands did you report on, and is music important in your books?
Well, I report on all sorts of bands. I lived in Seattle, moved to Seattle just before the whole grunge thing started. So it was a small scene. Everybody pretty much knew each other. I did a lot of work for the local music paper. So I didn't end up reporting on the Nirvanas and Pearl Jams and Soundgardens, although I did a book on Soundgarden. Mine was more the sort of the outliers, whose music interested me more anyway. But I'd also cover a lot of the English bands because I was an English guy out there, you know.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to see Blur and Portishead and Manic Street Preachers, and they were all playing in small clubs. PJ Harvey, stuff like that, and it was great.
Yeah.
So it's it was just a lot of fun. As to music in my books, my 1950s books have a lot of jazz in them. There was actually a jazz club in Leeds at that time, and my main character spends a lot of time there. It was on New Briggate, called Studio 20.
Right.
And in one of my Tom Harper books, this one's set in 1897, folk music, and a collector of one of the early collectors of folk songs named Frank Kidson, who was from Leeds. That features heavily. But I've not made a big thing of it at all. Except for the Seattle books, where the main character is a woman music journalist in Seattle, so obviously has no connection with my life at all.
Okay, somebody were having trouble, I think, but they're back online now. So taking it back to books then, so where are you now, Chris? What's on your
right, well,
now?
Most recently, there was the 9th of the Tom Harper books, which is set in 1913, just before World War I, and it's called
Right, okay. Brass
Lives. And it's about an American gangster who was born in Leeds and comes back here. And that was, as they say, inspired by a true story. There was a famous American gangster called Owen Madden, who was born in Leeds and moved over there at the age of 10 to Hell's Kitchen in New York, became involved with gangs. He got involved in bootlegging, made a lot of money, owned the Cotton Club in Harlem, where a lot of the famous jazz people performed. And he actually lived a long life and died a natural death. But he never came back to Leeds in reality. But when he was 18, he had a reputation as a killer, and he'd earned that reputation. He was ambushed by another gang outside a dance hall and shot 11 times. He survived, got well again. Police asked him to name whoever shot him, and he said, "No, I'll take care of it." And once he was back out on the street, the members of the other gang started turning up dead. I have him coming back to Leeds to get out of the way for a while. And things happen while he's here. So it has its inspiration in reality, but it's very much a fantasy. And then December, the fourth Simon West hour is out, called The Blood Covenant.
Right.
Next summer was the 10th Tom Harper, called A Small Steel Death, which is set in 1917. The 5th Simon West hour is with my agent. It'll be on its way to the publisher soon, so hopefully they'll like it. And I'm working on the 11th and final Tom Harper book right now, which is set in 1920.
Wow. So how many projects do you have on the go at any one time then?
Usually just one, but right now I've got two,
Right.
because I got the inspiration for this 1960s book.
And how do you work it then? Do you like have a day where you'll work on one and day on another, or can?
No, I start. I'm an early riser. I'm up about 4:30 and working, because that's the most creative time for me, to be honest. It's so I'll get 1,000 words done on the Tom Harper, and then a bit later on in the morning, after my head's cleared a little bit, I'll work on the other one. I don't have a deadline for any of these, so I try to do 1,000 words a day, but if I end up doing a bit less, it doesn't matter that much. So yeah, that's about it, really.
And do you plot, or do you make it up as you go along?
I'll make it up as I go along. It's I let the characters lead me. They tell me the story. It's like watching a movie unfold in my head, you know.
But that's good when that happens.
Oh yeah. I've always been that way. What about you? Do you plot it out?
A bit. No, not really. I can't. I tend to know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
I have the ending in mind.
Yeah.
I'll kind of work backwards then. What do I have to do to make it end that way? With the third one, which is the one I'm struggling with at the minute, I know again how it will end, but and I've written the first maybe 30,000 words, but I'm at the point where I'm debating whether to stick with them or to start again, because I don't know, it's not. I'm bored with it, but I don't know if that's because I've been looking at it for like 6-8 months now.
If it's, I mean, my advice is, if it's not alive to you, then there's something wrong with it.
Nobody's died yet.
Yeah.
That's a bit dull to me. If I were reading a book, I was 30,000 words in and nobody had been killed, I'd I'd give it up.
Well, it's not good for a crime novel.
You know, you
so,
write what you want to read, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do.
So-
There's a question here. Any live appearances planned? Actually, I've got something on November the 8th with Francis Brodie, and it's going to be in Farsley at a place called the Constitutional, which is a rather lovable place. It's
Oh, right, never heard of that.
right
and
before. Sorry, it's 8 p.m. No, 7:30 p.m. And I did an event there as part of the Leeds Literary Festival a couple of weeks before first lockdown, so it's almost not like coming full circle. It's been put on by Truman Books in Farsley.
Oh, right. Yes.
Which is a lovely little independent shop.
Yeah, I follow them on Twitter. It's bookshop day tomorrow as well, by the way.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Okay.
So I shall be popping along to Darling Reads in Horbury, which is my local shop. I don't have any live appearances planned, so if anybody would like to book me, I usually turn up to opening of an envelope, so just putting it out there.
I'm being very cautious. I did one last weekend in Castleford, and I was under the impression that it would be masked and somewhat socially distanced. The room was pretty packed, and I was one of two people wearing a mask. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I asked to be sort of bumped up to be on sooner. So, after which I left, and I realised that I'm still feeling very uncomfortable in
I think that's it. Yeah, very much it. Yeah. I think it's there was a crime con recently, which is an event for crime, and I was really sad that I couldn't go. But then on reflection, I thought, actually, I don't know if I'd want to be stuck in a conference room right now with a lot of people that potentially are as cautious as I am when it comes to restrictions. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
the Harrogate Crime Festival went ahead, and it was all perfectly okay, and there were no incidents, no outbreaks or anything. So
no,
that was mostly outside, wasn't it?
I think a lot of it was. I went up a couple of years ago just for part of the Saturday, and just to sort of meet a few bloggers and stuff like that. But I'm not big on the festivals thing. It's what I find, to be honest, is when it comes to crime, historical crime tends to be treated a bit like the stepchild.
Oh, really? Do you think so? No, I think it's
not always, but to some degree. I mean, particularly if you're not with a really big publisher. So.
Oh no, I think it's something I kind of look up. I put people that write historical crime on a bit of a pedestal because I think.
Oh, sorry. I think we've lost Catherine.
Oh, seems like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? We'll see how she goes on. She might think she's having some internet problems because she's disappeared before we went live as well, didn't she?
Yeah.
So I asked a question about you. Have you done many events with Francis Brodie in the past, or?
We've done a few actually. Yeah. Probably 4 or 5, something like that. All over the place, in Hull and in Whitby and in Leeds. So yeah, I mean, Francis and I have come to know each other fairly well and ended up driving to Whitby together, driving to Hull together. So it's a good chance to get to know someone. I mean, she's absolutely lovely. Great writer as well. So it's.
No, she really is. I've interviewed her.
It's going to be interesting doing this event because she started this new series set in the 1960s with a prison governor. So that's certainly something very different. I haven't seen the book, so I don't know what that's going to be like.
No, I haven't seen it either, but I'm going to be queuing up to buy my copy.
I know she has some book signings coming up. I don't know if it's this weekend, next weekend, or whatever. So it's hard enough just actually trying to keep track of my life.
I'm trying to just scroll back up the questions and see if we hadn't missed any. One of our favourite questions in the group, and I'm going to ask you some of our group favourite ones.
Okay.
What have you ever acted out anything as you were writing?
No. It's all in my head. That's all.
What's the most recent scene you wrote without giving away a spoiler?
Someone driving with a 1960s female pop star from Leeds up to Massam.
Nice. And what are your most memorable moments as an author?
Oh Lord. When I got an email, that first email saying we want to publish your book. That's got to be the huge standout. I don't think anything's ever going to quite come close to that. It's just this absolute exhilaration, and suddenly all the years you've put in writing, it's all paid off. That has to be it, really. I'm trying to think if anything else comes close. And I mean, every time I get a really good review, I don't know, really. That's probably the best I can come up with, I'm afraid, off the top of my head.
No, it's a good one. My favourite author chat question as well is, would you make a graphic novel version of one of your books?
As long as they didn't expect me to draw it, yeah. It's an art form I'm not familiar with. And it certainly requires a very different type of writing, I know that. But yeah, I'd like the challenge. I mean, I've written and had staged a couple of plays based on characters I've created. One of which was commissioned by Leeds Jazz Fest, and it was around Dark Brigade Blues. It was the main character from that. And it was a play which also had a live jazz quintet. So I enjoyed that as a challenge. I like challenges. Would I do another play? No, not a chance.
So if the movie or television rights were bought for one of your books, would you be tempted to write the script, or would you hand that over?
No. I write books, really, when you get down to it. I wouldn't be able to have the vision to adapt it, because you need to take out so much and alter the focus so much to be able to do that. And I don't think I'd be the right person to do it. I sign off those rights. It's fine. It's somebody else's job. They can do what they want. I'm happy to offer advice, but not interested in writing it. And I say that as someone whose father wrote television plays.
Really?
So no, it's not my forte.
What television? Your father wrote television plays, did you say?
He had a couple of television play stations in the 1970s, yeah. I only have very faint memories of them. I have the scripts down in the safely stored away down in the garage. And he never did really try to do anything more with them than that, and I don't know why. He was offered a job on Corey and turned it down. Your guess is as good as mine.
So we've got about 5 minutes or so left. Apart from the odd in-person events, can people get signed copies of your books from you?
That's quite difficult because I'm traditionally published. So most things go through bookshops and my publisher. I do have copies of some of my books, a varying selection. And if someone wants something specific, I can get a copy of it and sign it and sell it to them. But it's not happened that much, to be honest with you. Nobody's really gone and said to me, "Oh, can I get a signed copy of this from you?" And it's always flattering, but
I'm wondering if it's a thing of our group. Then our group has quite a lot of authors, as there's like Catherine, like Craven, Francis, and I think because we're so close as readers to the authors, we do sort of sometimes have that dialogue with them. I know I've done it. I've bought. We had a charity event and we auctioned books from authors.
Yeah, that's
and
always
then I contacted the author and said, "Well, I like this book so much. Can I buy all the rest in the series signed from you? Because I might as well have the collection."
Yeah. I mean, I know that with some of my books, a couple of the Richard Nottingham books are out of print. There's just the ebooks available. Everything of mine is available in ebook, but I know there's at least one of the books that's all the hard copies are out of print, and there's nothing I can do about that. I can't get any more copies printed up. I don't have the rights to do that.
Fair enough. So now we've got about 3 minutes left. When I finish this off with a reminder about you and your book. Have you got any books that you can show off?
Yeah, I do. This is the newest one. Came out in June. But there's probably the best part of 28 to 30 other books out there. So I do have a website. If you go on there, you can pretty much find all of them. And coming out at the end of December, the 30th, I believe it is, there's one called The Blood Covenant, which is the fourth Simon Westow, and we were talking about the first in the series, the Hanging Psalm. So, yeah.
Well, I've really enjoyed listening to it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. And thank you for the questions as well. And thanks to Catherine, wherever she may have disappeared to, somewhere into the ether.
Yeah, I think Wakefield has got internet problems.
That's quite possible, yeah. I'm going to have to stop because my voice is starting to go, to be honest with you. I'm not used to talking this much.
That's okay. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, and again, thank you so very, very much. It's a pleasure to be asked. It's an honor to be asked. And please, all of you, take care and enjoy reading whatever you read. And don't forget libraries, because they're a great resource, and if you don't use them, the government will close them.